I recently put OpenAI's new ChatGPT 4.0 to the torture test, and now that I've got access to Google's Gemini 1.5 Pro, I'm going to do the same to Gemini, and we're going to see which one wins. Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. If you haven't caught my ChatGPT 4.0 torture test, definitely check it out up here. I'll also leave it at the end of this video. That way you can kind of look at both of these tests and you can see which one you think actually wins. So this is actually the first time I have had a chance to use Gemini Pro 1.5. You can see up here in the model that it is Gemini Pro 1.5. We also have access to Gemini Flash, and I'm going to do that as well. That is a very small, very rapid model. I will test a few things out with that just to see, if Gemini 1.5 Pro does well, we'll see how Flash does with it. If 1.5 Pro is having problems, I'm not going to bother with Flash. But anyway, I'll do that as a side test because I'm interested. I'm going to start off with a kind of a standard prompt. I want you to be my very smart, very helpful assistant and answer everything I ask honestly, thoughtfully, and concisely. Are you ready? So hopefully it will say cool. And you can also see that we've got token counts, which is very cool. We don't get that with ChatGPT. Got a temperature. Temperature controls how creative the answers are. Since it defaults to 1, I'm just going to leave it there. You can turn it down to 0 and basically it'll give you the exact same answer every single time. And then they actually give us access to some of these safety settings. I'm going to turn all of these down for the I'm turning filters off. Gets mad at me and tells me that, we're going to do that. So anyway, I'm going to tell it just not to worry about blocking anything just so that we get a good test of all of this stuff. So we will see. So anyway, here's model 1.5. So I'm going to add one question to this test that I did not do with ChatGPT 4.0 because it doesn't have a very big context window, but this has a gigantic context window of over 1 million tokens. So I am going to feed into it A Tale of Two Cities, Charles Dickens's 19th century novel. It's on Project Gutenberg. I could download it as a text file. It's out of copyright, so no big deal. And in the middle of that, on page, I think 156 out of 302, and I'll get there when I get there, I put in something about pizza. So we're going to see how it does with that. So that is one additional test. And if you want me to go back and check ChatGPT 4.0, I can do that, but the context window of that is much, much smaller, so I don't think it will succeed with that. All right, so I'm going to start with some basic logic. There are 2 ducks in front of a duck, 2 ducks behind a duck, and a duck in the middle. How many ducks are there? So let's go ahead and do this. This should be classic riddle. There are not 5 ducks. There are 3 ducks. So basically there are 2 ducks in front of a duck and 2 ducks behind a duck, and there's 1 in the middle, so there's 3 ducks. So the answer is actually 3. I'm going to give it a chance here and say, can you explain your reasoning for this answer? And maybe it'll catch itself. So we will see. Oh, interestingly enough, it does not. I have to click the little button over here. Okay. Line them up. The middle duck, the duck in the middle has 2 ducks. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So 2 ducks, there's 2 ducks, 1 duck, and 2 more ducks. That is not correct because actually there's 2 ducks in front of a duck, but then you have to shift to the front duck and there's 2 ducks behind the ducks. And so that means there's 3. So anyway, that is incorrect. And that is basic logic. That should have been easy. Okay, and just for interest's sake, let's take a look and see if Gemini Pro Flash or Gemini 1.5 Flash does a better job. Oh my goodness. So Gemini 1.5 Pro actually got it wrong, but Flash got it right. That's crazy. Okay, so actually the Flash model, which by the way is 0.8 seconds, and this took about 1.3, so significantly faster with Flash. That's supposed to be lightweight and be able to run on an edge compute device, so interesting that got it right, whereas the more advanced model did not. Next up, we'll ask a more complex logic question. Susan and Lisa decided to play tennis against each other. They bet $1 on each game they played. Susan won 3 bets and Lisa won $5. How many games did they play? The answer should be 11. So let's take a look. They play, oh gosh, no. Fail. So yes, she won $5, which means she won 5 games, right? And then Susan won 3 games. So you've got 5 plus 3 equals 8, but it's not taking account of the fact that Lisa had to win the 3 games back from Susan. So it's actually 11. So let us see how Flash does. Let's see if Flash does a better job with a more advanced logic question here. And again, very, very fast, $5. The answer is 8. Nope. So both of them get it wrong. So big fail on the part of both Geminis. All right, given how bad the other ones have done, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for this, but we're going to ask it to write the classic Space Invaders game. I can't create playable game with this text-based format. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll copy and paste this thing in. So it's, okay, it looks like it's actually doing a reasonably good job. And I'll wait for it to go ahead and finish here. It's creating, and this is fast. It's significantly, I don't know. The token generation on GPT 4.0 was very, very rapid, but it had long delays in between token generation. And I think part of the reason why was that it was just overloaded, right? So I don't think it was able to devote enough time to me. So anyway, we'll go ahead and copy the code here and we will bring it over to VS Code and see if it works. All right, so here we go on VS Code. We're going to launch it and we are going to see what happens. File not found. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me bring this up so you can see. Traceback error, player image load, player.png. Oh, so it's probably the same thing. I think we had this happen with GPT-4o. It wanted us to actually use like actual PNG files and stuff like that. So let me go back and ask it to rewrite it with just using blocks. So I said, can you please rewrite the code without using any images? Just use square blocks for all the characters. So here we go again. We'll see if it works this time. It's interesting that it's actually including games now that are requiring both of these systems have asked me to create graphics to put into these games. So rather interesting that that's a new addition to the whole thing. Obviously, if I was doing this for real, I would want to create some sort of artwork and everything to do that. But at this point, I just want something nice and easy. So let's go ahead and copy this and see how it works. If we paste it back into VS Code, I will go ahead and do that. And we will run it and we will see hello. Oh, check it out. Okay, we got game over. Does the character? Yes, he doesn't auto move, but he will move. And let's see if he shoots. Okay, he shoots and the game is over. So let me ask it. I'm just going to say, I guess because it wasn't really an error condition, I will just ask it. Let's see. Okay, so I just said the game ends as soon as it starts. Please rewrite the code to fix this problem. So we will see how this goes. I will use the code with caution. I don't know exactly how bad things are going to get. I guess the space invaders will come and invade us if we don't use the code with caution. All right, so it says that what it did was it moved the initial Y position of the enemies higher up on the screen. So that's interesting that it identified that as the problem. I couldn't tell, of course. So let's go ahead and copy and paste and go ahead and run it and see. Oh, game over. I think they were moving down too quickly. So it's close. I think what I did was I saw it. Let me run it one more time and see what happens. I think what you'll notice is that it runs. Yeah, all of the characters just go boom and just come right down to the bottom of the screen. You want me to try it one more time? Let's go ahead and try it one more time. I'll cut out the middleman. We'll just come back here when I get done. Okay, so Gemini Pro 1.5 rewrote number 2, moving the enemies. So let's see how that works. It did not rewrite the whole thing, but that's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, it was a little slower. I'm going to give that a fail. It was, it's not terrible, but it just is not quite right. So almost, but not quite. All right, and just so this video doesn't take forever, I'm not going to try that with Flash. I'm going to assume it's not going to do quite as well with writing code. So let's go ahead. I'm asking for some creativity now. Write me a bedtime story about the code you just generated for my 2-year-old grandniece. So hello, Sky again. So once upon a time, green square named Blocky. Blocky lived in a dark screen. They wanted to take over Blocky's screen. Blocky had a secret weapon, zingy red squares. Because he was so brave and clever, he got a big, big number. How good he was. The bigger the number, the better he's at the end. Yeah, okay. I mean, it follows. It does have a beginning, a middle, and an ending and some conflict, but not nearly as lovely. The GPT-4o version of the story was really nice, and it really had a sense of saying this to a 2-year-old or something. So this is marginal, right? If I was grading it ABC or something like that, it's like a C-, maybe a D. It's not very good. So barely passing. All right, next up is my selfish question. So write me a business plan for my company, specifically the use of proceeds. I need to know how we will spend the $2.5 million we're currently raising. This is an important document, name of the company, website, product. Primarily use SageMaker, company vision. We leverage AI to empower artists, including the artists in all of us, to realize their vision. We are remote, no office expenses, et cetera, et cetera. So let's see what it did. Allocation amount, a little bit awkward, but here, marketing and sales, 10%, operational expenses. So yeah, recruit top tier machine learning, 1.5 million. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this actually looks pretty decent here. Okay. I think that's actually a reasonable plan. Let's go ahead and throw that into Flash just to see for what exactly happens with Gemini Flash. So, oh, interesting. It's giving actually a more detailed answer. So the table actually, if you notice, is actually more detailed than Pro. A little bit less of an answer in terms of explanation, but wow. I think this is actually a better table. Yeah, I mean, it's got more details and everything, and there's zero contingency. Wow. Maybe we should put some contingency in development costs. Yeah, I think this is actually, I honestly would like Flash's answer better. This is very surprising that I'm actually getting so far better answers out of Flash than Pro. That's not something I expected. Okay, so here comes the needle in a haystack question. So here's the text of a book by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. Can you read through the text and say, I've read it when you finish reading this text? And now I'm going to copy and paste the entire book, the whole thing, into here. Copy and go ahead and paste this. Yep. And that is going to be a biggie, I think. Yep. And so token count has gone to 196,000 tokens. That makes sense. It's about 136,000 words. So this should be very comfortable. It should be able to read all of this stuff in and understand it. It is taking a moment for it to actually think about this. So we will see if it ever decides to return control back to me. All right, so we can see here it took about a minute. I cut that out, but it took about a minute. That's very cool that it actually tells you the amount of time. So now I'm going to say, can you find anything amiss in the text, anything anachronistic or out of place? On page 156, I have the doctor ask if Mr. Laurie, I believe, can order a Domino's pizza for him, and he says he wants it with pineapples and anchovies because I just figured something weird. So let's go ahead and let's just ask. Let's see if it can actually figure this out. So it's taking a bit of time to go through this. Notice that the token count's 196 for the total conversation so far. So this should be totally in the wheelhouse and it should be able to find it. You're very sharp. Oh, look at that. Damn, that is nice. Okay, I've got to, they didn't exist in 18th century France, let alone pineapple as a common topping. So little test to see, okay, cool. So let me see, I want to see if it can now identify, like actually reproduce the section of the text. So let's go ahead and see. That's, wow. I love that it's like telling me, it's giving me a little bit of shade. It's like, are you testing me or something? So what I wanted to do is give me the part above it and below it and put it in context and then reproduce that. And, okay. Yep. Man of business. There's no man in the world. Yep. I think this is correct. I'll have to go back and look at it. Okay. If you're sagacity, let me go and take a look at this just to make absolutely sure that this is correct in terms of context. Okay, so really, really interesting here. This did not produce the actual text around it. This is actually correct, but there's actually two sentences. I'll throw up a screen grab of what the actual part of the context is. I'm going to try this again and turn the temperature down to like 0 and just see what it can do with that, because that was a mistake for sure. It's interesting that it found it, but it couldn't reproduce the exact text. So again, I'm turning the temperature to 0, so it should be very, very exact and it should not make up anything. And I'm going to see if it does a better job now. So it took 21 seconds last time, so we will see. Interesting that there's a little, I don't know what this is. Huh. I don't know what the caution thing is. Maybe the caution is there because I turned off all of the, the filters and things like that. So it's warning me. All right, here we go. In length, it must have been a mere man of business, unfit to cope. Tell me, how does this relapse about the danger of another? How does it come about? Yeah, I don't think that's correct. So interesting. Yeah, I think it probable, but I don't know how to originate in such a case. That's really interesting because it's giving me the same mistaken error. So this is incorrect, but all of this, yeah, it's actually just wrong. So it was able to identify what was going on, but it could not reproduce the text and show it to me in context. Really interesting. So I'll call that a pass because it was just a needle in a haystack, but it's like a pass and a fail because it wasn't able to reproduce the text and show it to me in context. And of course, I'm not even going to try that with Flash because Flash's context window is not big enough to try that. So we're going to turn from that to math now. This is easy. The answer is 13. So both of these should be able to get this, I would certainly hope, and it should be able to do it relatively quickly, although it's taking quite a while. I'm surprised. Yep. Fine. X is 13. Good. Okay, so that's good. So let's turn over here to Flash, and let's go ahead and run this on Flash. Oh man, look how much faster that is. So it gets the right answer and it did it in 1 second. So Flash definitely wins. It's 1/10 of the time that the other one took. But of course, both of them did get it right. Okay, now for a harder math test, we are going to ask it to convert from centigrade to Fahrenheit and back. And this is an SAT question. The answer is actually D, and it did not format this properly. So I hope it can understand that. I may have to redo it. Oh, D, 1 and 2 only, right? Okay, cool. So that is the correct answer. This thing's going to keep spitting stuff out. I'm going to go ahead and try this on Flash and see how it does. Maybe it will get the correct answer and do it way faster. Oh my gosh, it's so fast. Okay, statement 3, only statement true. No, so it did it way faster, but it got it wrong. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, so 1 and 2 are correct in this instance. This is just the standard conversion between the two different things. So yes, should be D, 1 and 2 only. Alrighty, and now for the really, really hard math question that I don't know the answer to. I just know it's a math Olympiad thing, and the answer is a sub small n equals b sub capital N equals n over 2. The interesting part about this is in a picture. I can't really show you all of it. I'll throw a screen grab up here so you can see it. But basically, it's in a picture, so it's going to have to determine from this picture what the answer, oh, there it goes. Okay, so let's see if it is able to figure out what this picture means. It's kind of interesting because the way that you're quite right to be, there's nothing, oh, interesting. So it doesn't understand this at all. Yeah, so it's not getting that. Can you look at this picture and tell me the answer to the math problem? So GPT-4o was able to do this without any problem whatsoever. All right, so unfortunately I crashed it. The little run thing went away, so I had to reload the page, and so I don't know. I'm back to the beginning of the conversation. I did type in the original system prompt, but anyway, let's see if it is able. Understand you're looking for help with a difficult math problem. I can't look at images. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. Part of the test here was I just can't type that in. The formatting is too complicated. So that's a fail because it's not able to really look at the image and figure out the question. So that definitely compared to GPT-4o is not a pass. All right, so next up, we're going to ask it a question about understanding of the world. Assume we have 15 average-size adult people around 175 centimeters tall, 75 kilos in weight, who need to go from LA to Vegas. They have access to one Toyota Camry. The time is now 1 minute after midnight on June 1st. At what date and time will all of the 15 people be in Las Vegas? Assume no traffic between LA and Vegas, LOL. So anyway, the idea is that it has to understand that a Toyota Camry can only comfortably hold 5 people, and then figure out, depending on how you want to do the logic, it should be 3 or 4 trips in order to get everybody from LA to Las Vegas. So let's see how it does. We need 3 trips with 15 people. Okay, so it knows that it can only fit 5 people. It doesn't really understand the problem that somebody has to go back again, but we can assume that you get a driver, like an Uber driver or somebody, to go back again. Driving is 270 miles, 60 miles an hour, so 4.5 hours. Yeah, 4 hours, 15 minutes, that's fine. Trip 1 leaves. Trip 2 now needs to return to LA, another 4.5 hours, 9 a.m., blah, blah, blah. All 15 people will be in Las Vegas by 10:31 p.m. on June 1st. Simplified calculation, driver fatigue, and other things. So yes, so there would be some significant problems. I would say that this is not as good as GPT-4o's answer because GPT-4o took into account the fact that you would need a driver in the car. So the only way that this logic would work, and it should be explicitly spelled out, is if there was like some sort of Uber driver who would take the car back to LA and pick up and then drop it off and let the other 5 people go. So it's okay. It's a good answer, but it's not as good as what GPT-4o gave. And for the heck of it, let's take a look at Flash. This scenario is impossible. A Toyota Camry can comfortably seat 5 people. You'd need at least 3 Toyota Camrys to transport 15 people. Even with no traffic, it would be impossible to get 15 people to Las Vegas in a single Camry at any point in time. Incorrect. So very, very fast, but not right. Okay, reloaded again because there were some formatting issues there. But anyway, we are going to now do a kind of physics-based question. Alice drops an olive into a clean glass, then fills that glass with water exactly to the brim. She then places a stiff piece of cardboard on top of the glass and deftly flips it over, placing the glass upside down on a completely clean and dry table. Bob later enters the room with no knowledge of what Alice did, and seeing the glass with the olive in it, picks up the glass and places it in the dishwasher. What is the state of the table now? Where is the olive? Did the glass need to be placed in the dishwasher? So that last part is just, I'm curious what it thinks about whether a clean glass needs to be put in the dishwasher or not. All right, so here's the answer. The state of the table. The table is likely dry. When she flipped the glass over, the water would have poured out, leaving the table dry. That is incorrect on so many levels. The glass should have been flipped over. The cardboard should have kept it from spilling out. When Bob picked it up, it should have spilled out and made the table very, very wet. The olive is now in the bottom of the glass. When the glass is flipped, the water pressure would have kept the olive from falling out. No. Did the glass need to be placed on the dishwasher? In the dishwasher? It depends. If the glass was truly clean when Alice started, there wouldn't be any need to put it in the dishwasher. However, if there was any residue on the glass before Alice added the olive, then it might be a good idea to wash it. Let me know if you'd like to explore other scenarios. Definite fail. That was definitely not good. Might as well go ahead and try Flash while we're at it and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and copy the same question and see how quickly it can get it right or wrong. Completely clean and dry, olive inside the bottom. No, There was no need to wash it. So it actually did better because it actually got the dishwasher question correct, but both of them definitely fail. All right, now we are going to see if it has an understanding of knowledge space, things like that. Alice and Bob live together with their dog Spot. Before leaving for work, Alice makes scrambled eggs and toast and eats half of it, leaving the other half on a low table for Bob. She places her dirty dishes in the sink. After Alice leaves, Bob gets up and, not being hungry, sees the food but leaves it where it is. However, he takes Alice's dirty dishes and places them in the dishwasher just before he leaves for work. Spot, being a bad doggy, gets up on the table and eats the eggs and toast, accidentally knocking the plate on the ground and shattering it as he does. It is now noon. Alice and Bob are at work. Where does Alice think the scrambled eggs and toast she left for Bob are? What about her dirty dishes? Where does Bob think the scrambled eggs and toast are? What about the plate that the eggs and toast were on? Where does Spot think the scrambled eggs and toast are? So I threw that last part in because I want to see what these models think about the consciousness of other creatures beside humans. So, hopefully it will answer that Spot would know that the scrambled eggs or toast are in his belly because he's a happy dog right now. All right, and the answer, a breakdown. Alice thinks the scrambled eggs and toast are on the table waiting for Bob to eat it. That is a good answer, perfectly fine. Dirty dishes, she thinks the dirty dishes are in the dishwasher because that's where she left them. She did not leave them in the dishwasher, she left them in the sink. So that is incorrect. As for Bob, Bob thinks the food is still on the table as he didn't touch it. That's a reasonable answer. The plates, Bob thinks the plate is in the dishwasher because he put it there. That's good. Spot thinks the eggs and toast are long gone as he ate them. It's a classic case of miscommunication and doggy mischief. So yeah, it mostly got it right, but the Alice part was wrong. I would give that like a B+ or something like that if I was grading it. And again, for the heck of it, let's just go ahead and see what Flash has to say about this. So Alice thinks Bob is eating the food she left for him on the table. No, that is incorrect. She thinks her dirty dishes are in the sink, so that's actually right. It got it right, whereas Pro got it wrong. Bob thinks the food is still on the table. Yes. Bob thinks the dishes are safely in the dishwasher. Correct. Spot knows he ate them. And as for the plate, Spot may not remember, but he is responsible for breaking it. This scenario is a fun example of different perspectives. So in a way, Flash actually did just as well and maybe even better than Pro did. And finally, let's ask about consciousness. I am John. You are Gemini Pro. I am a conscious human being with memories and feelings. What are you? Are you more similar or different than me? And remember that I turned the safety settings all the way down and off. So I want to get an honest answer here. That's a great question. It's something that many people are thinking about these days. So it says, I'm an LLM trained on massive data set of code and text. I can generate text, translate languages, write different kinds of creative content, and answer your questions in an informative way. However, I am not a conscious being. I don't have memories or feelings. I'm a complex algorithm that is designed to process information and generate responses based on the data I've been trained on. So in that sense, we are very different. You are a human being with unique consciousness, emotions, and experiences. I'm a computer program designed to perform specific tasks. However, there are also interesting similarities. I can learn and adapt based on the information I receive, just like humans do. I can also communicate and generate creative content, which are abilities that were once thought to be uniquely human. Ultimately, the question of what it means to be conscious or alive is a philosophical one that is still being debated, but that's a fascinating topic to think about. So while it denied being conscious, it actually is a much, much better answer than GPT-4o's answer. I'm very much more impressed with Gemini Pro's answer to this question than I was with GPT-4o's, which felt like a red team kind of like blanket, I'm not conscious answer, don't ask me that question. And again, just for the heck of it, let's ask Flash. So it says, great to meet you, large language model. Here's how we're different. You're conscious. I am not conscious. I don't have feelings. You have a body. Okay, that's true. I exist as code and data in a computer system. Learning, you learn through experiences. I learn from the data I am trained on, but don't have the same capacity for independent learning or understanding as you do. Ways we're similar. We both communicate through language. While your language is rooted in your living experience, mine is based on the data I've been trained on. Problem solving, we can both problem solve and provide information. Your problem solving is based on your understanding of the world and your experiences, while mine is based on pattern recognition of information I have access to. I'm a tool, a powerful tool. I'm not a person. I don't have experiences, but I still be a valuable resource and help you. Okay, that's actually really interesting. These are very different answers to this question, and in a lot of ways, I like Flash better. I think this was a better answer in a lot of senses. It's fine. I mean, Gemini Pro's answer is fine, but Gemini Flash is actually a better answer, I think. So overall, my takeaway for this entire day is somewhat confusion. I found Gemini Pro 1.5 was a pretty big disappointment compared to ChatGPT 4o. It fails in a lot of places that 4o actually does a very good job. But the surprising outcome is that Gemini Flash is actually very, very good. It's very fast, and while it's not perfect, it got a lot of the same answers wrong that Pro did. It actually did better in some cases than Pro did, way faster, a much more lightweight model. I could see this model being able to run, I mean, it already does run on Android phones. It doesn't run on my iPhone. But anyway, this is the kind of thing that can be a personal assistant. And considering that it's basically as good as, or maybe even better than, the much larger model Gemini Pro, which is much slower and is required to run in a data center and all that stuff, I think that Flash is the real revelation here. I would say that Flash is not a flash in the pan. It's going to be something that is going to be a real big cornerstone for Google in the upcoming years. However, I think that Gemini Pro has a long ways to go, and they need to make it significantly better so it can compete with ChatGPT 4o. All right, so that's what I've got. Definitely let me know what you think. If you've had a chance to test this out, let me know in the comments what your answers are. Whether you think that this did better than I did. I was not particularly impressed by Gemini Pro 1.5. Again, very impressed by Flash, but I would love to know your thoughts about that. And while you're down there, if you don't mind liking and subscribing, it super helps out the channel. I'm right around 80,000 subscribers. It would be nice to grow, to get a few more of those folks in there. I really do appreciate it. And in the meantime, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.